What's up, everybody? This is Karak with ACG, and welcome to a Funfactor Explained. This is where I take a game that I reviewed and I blow out the category that I found so interesting in it into a larger part to explain more about what I found so special in a game or a title. And I'm sure it comes as no surprise to anybody that today's title is going to be Ace Combat 7: Unknown Skies. As always, if you like this video, maybe share it from the YouTube page or subscribe. So where is the fun in Ace Combat 7, you may ask? I think, as I said in the review, let's start from the start, it's the combination of arcade playthrough with just a bit of strategy, but I love how that strategy falls apart due to how the game occasionally throws reinforcements at you, but also sets you up to think a certain thing due to the way the briefings are mixed. It's this give and take of planning and then reacting to the new plan you may have had as the last one just falls apart around you. Now, all this can be made even more difficult by the type of weapons you take if you always believe the intel you're going to get, and you shouldn't because sometimes it's wrong. And I like that because it makes you feel more like there's a dynamic situation occurring. That, to me, is really where Ace Combat works. It makes you feel a bit like you stepped into the skilled body of a pilot who keeps the jet doing pretty much what it's supposed to do while you engage in all the fun parts. It's getting to sail on someone else's boat and letting them handle the cleanup. And it's that enjoyment without the restrictions of true responsibility that the actions would actually require. Ace clears you up for these special moments. It clears you up for doing heroic things where you're able to track in and out the various enemies and understand the different planes, and you begin to realize that you're steadily improving with each kill or, in fact, each defeat. That distillation of hardcore simulation is really profound here, and it's made into a workable solution for someone that's stepping in who wants to pull off the moves that they saw in a movie or a TV show somewhere, but doesn't have the perfect body and military discipline to jump into an airplane. And a lot of that is really due to the sense of flight and the speed and the immersion that is available here. First, we're just going to talk about the normal pancake version, the normal flat screen version. I caught myself pulling up and shooting straight into the sky like I wanted to visit China's rover on the dark side of the moon, and I punched through a series of clouds only to come out into this massive battle that had slowly whittled its way above me from about a mile away, and that sense of being there as enemies and allies slipped into and out of formations was incredible. You can also at times actually see them notice you on the radar screen and start to take evasive action. And there's this feeling of immersion that's incredible. And the first time you end up flying into a stack of clouds and you start to not believe your instruments, even though of course they're right, but your brain is telling you, no, I think I'm upside down, is really well done. That sense of immersion that ends up packing in on top of you is added in with different sound effects and different music. It's all put together. You know, sometimes you get a game where one of these elements is taken care of. However, in Ace Combat, they all come together to create this cohesive whole, and I really did dig that. And these kind of moves are really added when it comes to PSVR because you're able to have such a fidelity of movement compared to just using the thumbstick, and it adds this ability for you to, say, punch through a series of bogeys, you head towards the hard deck, you can glance up and behind you to see where each enemy is splitting and trying to find the best course of action on their own. And in some of the later levels, dangerous moves that would actually get you killed are moves here that will save your life. For example, you might end up flying low, losing speed and altitude, but flying through the trenches of a bunch of mountains as an enemy is forced to fly above you and across like a friggin' X-Wing. You leave the Death Star trench and you end up shooting them from below. It is fantastic stuff, and it really does teach you all of these maneuvers, and when sometimes the maneuver that you would never expect is the one that actually really works. I've always felt that arcade games have to give you that instant saccharine kickback, like you lick the bottom of a cereal bowl and you got to that sugar that isn't dissolved. It's like a drug, and while Ace doesn't always have it, when it does, it's incredible, and much of that is that balance between the moves you need to take and the moves you can take due to your airspeed and position and deciding between the two. For example, regardless of the way you're playing, there's times where you'll turn into an enemy tail while watching all around you that an enemy doesn't creep up. And it's amazing, but made more so by how easy it is to really identify all the other planes and what they're doing around you via either the PSVR and looking, the gamepad and looking, or of course your radar. The number of times I had to disengage from some really troublesome MiG because a plane was circling in slow behind me is countless, and the ability to understand that and have this overall 360 awareness is something that actually isn't really well done in a lot of games. But it's also straight up the satisfaction you get when an enemy explodes in front of you, and as their plane falls apart, bits of it start to explode sympathetically around you and below you as it breaks up. To me, that's just another hit on that sugar high that Ace offers. It really is a power fantasy through and through, but there's still a sense of danger. But tailing an enemy, banking into another, you fire a missile, watch it off for a second, and then notice a jet flying below you and turning just a bit too slow, and that allows you to nose down and take them out with guns as they fly into it. It's incredibly satisfying, especially when you realize that maybe 2 or 3 deaths prior to that, you would not have realized you needed to look at your radar to see where everyone else is. And the game makes you feel like a perfect ace without making you feel like it was a little too easy. In fact, to me, some of the best parts of Ace Combat are its difficulty. It's not just paying attention to the briefings or listening to the chatter. It's the fact that on the hardest difficulties, the other pilots really are pretty much aces, pulling off logically sound moves and taking even a moment of your own inaction into their accounts. Fun to me is not only feeling powerful, but doing so in the face of difficulty, not because of the lack of it. And then later, the reflection of those experiences continually reflected back into the gameplay as you continue on through the title. I'll go on record here and say that I think Ace Combat 7 is probably one of the best flight arcade games there really is, and certainly one of the best Ace Combat games there is. It doesn't mean it's without its issues. It just means that regardless of doing PSVR missions, doing multiplayer, or playing the main campaign, there was so much going on and so many different thought processes that were going through my head. And the enjoyment of picking the different planes, picking the different missions, understanding the different weapons and how everything worked together, and then adding in just that little flicker of question. Will it actually pan out the way I thought? To me, that is the absolute epitome of why I like games. That randomness, even in the face of an excellent plan. So anyway, that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Of course, you can check me on Twitter and Twitch and Facebook. Those are all in the descriptions, and become a patron on the Patreon website. But I would like to know what you guys think. Feel free to jump in here into the comments. What do you like about Ace Combat 7? And hell, if you haven't played it, what do you like about Ace Combat 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1? What do you enjoy about these games? What is it to you that adds fun factor to a title like this? And if you don't like this game, I'd like to know why you don't find it fun. That would be a really good discussion point as well. Peace out and enjoy the rest of your week.
Locked on, Bandit.